Honestly.
Quickly. Throughout the empire, Greek civilians were indiscriminately slaughtered, particularly in the capital, where armed janissaries roamed the streets, killing Christians in cold blood.
Whoa! Whoa!
Ecumenical Patriarch Gregory V, the temporal leader of Orthodox Christianity, was suddenly arrested, sentenced to death by the Sultan, and hanged. Ironically, prior to his execution, Gregory had condemned the revolution, and his unceremonious death shocked the Christian world.
Oh my... Greek War of Independence. This is gonna be interesting to me. I should look forward to this because I know it's a part of the Balkan Wars, but it does give you more insight on the Ottoman Empire, especially late Ottoman Empire.
Are the proverbial titans of antiquity. Despite this, the modern Greek nation was born in the relatively recent 19th century, forged by revolutionaries who knew only Ottoman domination, and for whom Greece was merely an idea that had to be won in war.
Bro, and that's the thing about Greece is, and you get this weird paradox. Were the other Greek states that existed before, were they the same entity as modern Greece, right? And it's very weird to think about, because it's like, sure, there were definitely Greek states. Yes, they were Greek, but were they the same as that Greek state, which is the modern day Greece? Because we reacting to Alexander the Great, we all know that Greece was just it wasn't even Greece. It was just a bunch of Greek states that all warred each other, and they all basically just spoke the same language. It's kind of like how Germany, it was the same thing with Germany pretty much, before Germany became one relatively modern recent country. So it's like, I don't know. It's just weird because it's just confusing to me, because it's like you could argue for both. You could really actually argue for both, but let's continue.
Welcome to our new series on the Greek War of Independence. In this first episode, we will explore the lives of Greek peoples during 500 years of Ottoman rule, before examining the lead-up to revolt and the first stages of the revolution that birthed modern Greece. We've also got a new weapon for you in the fight for online independence, thanks to the sponsor
VPN. I don't need a VPN.
Empire. The great bombards of Sultan Mehmed II brought an end to a millennia-old Greek-speaking Eastern Roman Empire. Henceforth,
Thank you, kings and generals, for saying Greek-speaking, not Greek. Greek-speaking.
the overwhelming majority of Greeks were subjects to the sultans of the House of Osman. Under the Ottoman regime, Greeks were grouped into the Rum Millet, a self-governing religious community led by the Ecumenical Patriarchate in Constantinople, which included all other Orthodox Christian ethnicities in the empire. Despite this, Greek speakers maintained a distinct ethnic identity from their co-religionists, calling themselves Romii, Romans. Indeed, the concept of a Greek or
Romans is a bit of a stretch. I mean, because when Rome was a thing, when Romans were a thing, Greek people were also a thing too. That's kind of a stretch, to be honest. But I can't agree with that one. I can't lie.
Or Hellenic identity, for the most part, had not existed for centuries, and for early modern Greek speakers, the heroes of Homer were mystical giants from a distant pagan past, not their direct ancestors. For over a millennia, The Greek language
That
had been firmly
makes
associated with
sense.
Byzantine Christianity, so even under the Ottoman Empire, Greeks continued to be identified as Romans.
But the question is, did they practice Roman culture? Sure, they could be Roman. They could be Romanized. Yeah, they could be Romanized. Yeah. I mean, they probably were Romanized. That's weird. Romanized Greek that completely forgot about their Hellenic past, but they're still using the Greek alphabet? No. Latin, no, Rome used Latin, but they're still speaking Greek. That's insane to me. Bro, that's really so absurd because Alexander the Great Hellenized like basically like the Middle East. And it's like, wow, how do you go from Hellenizing people to become assimilated yourself? What? Like you think that wouldn't happen, but okay.
Life for Christians under the Ottoman Empire was complex. On one
Oh
hand,
yeah,
they
complex.
were legally an inferior class to Muslims, often subject to arbitrary prohibitions, such as on bearing arms and riding mounts, while their word counted for less than a Muslim's in most courts.
Okay, bearing arms, that makes sense. Riding mounts, I don't know why that would be prohibited. Why would that? Because bearing arms is like, yeah, you know, to stop uprising, that's common sense. But horses? What? Like, what? I need some explanation on that one.
Of law. Additionally, they were beholden to the infamous Deschirmer system, in which Christian boys were forcibly taken from their homes and indoctrinated to become the Sultan's loyal slave soldiers. On the other hand, Ottoman Christians...
Yeah. I always pinpoint this. It's like, bro, I'm sorry, but like, you can't. Isn't that haram? Isn't this haram? Because I don't know anything about the Quran, but it's like, I know the Bible says that you can't enslave people. I know this because slaves in the Caribbean, when they became Christian, they would argue we're Christian, like you shouldn't enslave us because that's prohibited in the Bible. I don't know if the Quran is the same way. Which, by the way, is how racism was invented, because when more and more slaves started to argue, hey, we're Christian, you can't enslave us, that's literally a sin. They went from they invented racism based on skin color, at least that type of racism based on skin color, to keep enslaving Africans, West African people. So yeah, racism is, at least that type of racism, that was just invented just so that rich white people could keep, like, they didn't really care about skin color. They just invented it. It was a BS excuse, and you know it worked, of course. So, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know how the Quran is like, but I'm pretty sure the Quran prohibits slavery as well. It's like the Ottoman Empire was obviously is clearly an Islamic empire. So wouldn't that be extremely haram? I'm just saying, man, but whatever.
Christians had relative religious freedom, while the ecumenical patriarchs of Constantinople became highly influential under Ottoman purview. Osmanli overlordship also saw a rise in Greek merchants and landowners.
Isn't Constantinople Istanbul at this point?
A group of Greek merchants, named the Phanariotes, had emerged as among the wealthiest magnates in the entire Mediterranean. This even led to the Phanariotes being appointed to govern the territories of Moldavia and Wallachia on the Sultan's behalf. All of this might give the impression that Ottoman Greece was a thoroughly tamed land, which it certainly was not. Indeed, while the cities and plains were pacified, the mountains remained a hotbed of native insurgents known as Klefts, who generally devoted their lives to banditry against the local Ottoman institutions. In response, the Ottomans hired native collaborators, known as armatili, to root out the Klefts. However, loyalties were extremely precarious. Yesterday's armatili could become tomorrow's Klefts, and vice versa.
Oh, what?
Another group that constantly defied Ottoman authority were the Maniots. Living in unconquerable coastal fortress villages of the titular Mani Peninsula, the Maniots habitually preyed on Ottoman ships, that is, when their many clans weren't engaged in mafia-like blood feuds against one another. Overall, the Klefts, armatili and Maniots were little more than local banditos. However, their existence proved that Ottoman Greece always had people perpetually ready to resist the Ottoman yoke. But this would only snowball into open rebellion when the time was right. From the 18th century onwards, the Ottoman Empire was increasingly geopolitically contained by the growing global influence of European colonial empires. The most dangerous of these European powers was Imperial Russia. In 1768,
Russia! Oh, Russia! Oh, and freaking beating the Ottomans 13 times, bro.
Declared one of Russia's many wars on the Turks and emerged victorious, securing favorable terms in the 1774 Treaty of Küçük-Kaynarca, which included a provision that recognized the Russian Tsars as the symbolic protectors of all Orthodox Christians in Ottoman lands. This led to increased Russian influence over Ottoman Greeks. Indeed, at the Congress of Vienna in 1815, as the great powers of Europe met to decide the fate of their continent after Napoleon's defeat, a young Russian ambassador in the service of Tsar Alexander I proved to be one of the single most influential men in carving out the New World Order. His name was Ioannis Kapodistrias, an ethnic Greek, and while not immediately relevant to our story right now, he will become exceedingly important later, so remember his name.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the Imperial Russian port town of Odessa was home to one of the few thriving Greek communities outside the Ottoman Empire. It was there, in 1814, that the Philiki Eterea was formed. The Eterea was a secret society that sought to cultivate a new patriotic ethnogenesis for the modern Greek people by promoting Hellenism, reviving their long-dormant ties to the ancient Spartans and Athenians.
Hell yeah!
Doing away with the Roman label, which had long become associated with Ottoman servitude.
Exactly. I mean, like,
But
it's like, how do you freaking like abandon all of that, bro? Like, freaking, just like, how? I'm so mind blown by how, because Greece has such a strong culture. It's like, how do you do away with that? How do you get Romanized? Although the Greek culture somewhat still existed because the Romans also eventually started speaking Greek. So, but still, it's like, that's just, language is just one part of a culture, but there's more to that.
Philiki Eterea was more than just a cultural society, for it was also actively dedicated to the military liberation of their homeland. In 1817, the society propositioned Kapodistrias to be their leader, but the great diplomat refused. This gang of radicals, he concluded, would only lead Greece to ruin. Nevertheless, the Eterea soon became a vast Freemason organization with secret supporters all across Ottoman Greece. Agents within the influential Phanarioti merchant class gave the society vast economic and social reach, while initiates among the Klefts and Maniots provided the society with a military backbone. In 1820, Philiki Eterea came under the leadership of one Alexander Ypsilantis, a wealthy aristocrat of Phanariot stock. Immediately, Ypsilantis concluded that now was the time to initiate open revolt. The Ottomans were distracted. The elderly Albanian governor of Epirus was rebelling against the reigning sultan.
That is crazy. I read the thing in the corner I usually don't comment on it, but I'm like that freaking assassinating people that might tell the truth. That's wild.
Mahmud II, who was doubly distracted dealing with escalating border tensions with Persia.
Which is something about kings and generals that you gotta pay attention to, because he just add extra details in like corners of videos on like notes and whatnot, and sometimes I just miss those details, and it kind of hampers what I'm learning. But yeah, I was talking about the note. I'm pretty sure you saw it. It was quite big, but yeah, that's, which is funny because nobody ever points out like the notes that kings and generals like put on his videos in my comments, like ever. Like nobody really expands on those details, and I was like, you know what, I need to start actually like commenting on those extra notes that he puts there, like he just did there just now. That's why I was like, freaking Russian support. How do you even lie that you have Russian support? Like that's what the note said right here. I don't feel like going back. You could honestly just scroll back and you'll see the note. But it said that he kept support by saying that he lied about having Russian support. It's like, how do you lie about that? Eventually, couldn't people just eventually just see that or know like the Russian Empire isn't supporting you? Like what?
Yeah. Initially, Ypsilantis meticulously drew out.
Let me see. Inciting the Serbs to revolt, kidnapping slash. Whoa! Kidnapping the Sultan? Bringing down the Ottoman Navy anchor in the
detailed war.
Nah, kidnapping the Sultan is crazy.
The spring of 1821.
Oh my gosh!
Just after New Year's, a Faliki agent was captured by Ottoman officials while in possession of some compromising documents.
Oh!
Meanwhile, the Phanariot Prince of Wallachia, Michael Zoutsos, had been hedging his bets. While officially a member of the Eteria, he had also secretly sent correspondence to the Sultan informing him of the society's plans. Secrecy was out the window.
Well,
the revolution
GG.
had to begin now.
GG.
Ironically, the first major campaign of the Greek War of Independence began in Romania, for Greek Phanariot ties ran deep.
Wow. So the Greeks were more like these extremist Greeks, I'm gonna call them, were more oppressive than the Ottomans. That's what the note in the bottom right hand corner. So, and that's the thing, that's what I mean. It's like there's extra details like that that's worth noting that he doesn't point out.
The 2nd, 1821, Ypsilantis crossed the Pruth River into Ottoman Wallachia at the head of a platoon of Greek volunteers he dubbed the Sacred Band, an allusion to the Theban hoplites of antiquity. However, the Wallachian campaign was mired with problems from the start. Ypsilantis continuously motivated his supporters by promising Russian aid, which was never coming.
Bro,
Perpetually short on funds to pay his troops.
Oh, I didn't read that note. What did that note say? I'm too lazy to go back. I feel like that's important. Hold on a second. Despite being normal protectors of the Ottoman, Russia had no interest in shaking up the balance of power by supporting a great revolution, even for trying to drag this art into. Oh, okay. Yeah, balance of power. Yeah, of course.
And had a deeply dysfunctional relationship with the local Romanians. Ultimately, Ypsilantis and his Sacred Band would be crushed by an Ottoman cavalry force at the Battle of Dragășeni on June 19, 1821. The Greek Revolution had seemingly stumbled out of the gate, but while the northern expedition had failed, rebellious tensions in Greece proper had boiled over. Back on March 25th, at the monastery of Achia Lavra, Hennadios, Archbishop of Patras, raised the Christian banner of revolt, declaring a national uprising. The battle for Greece had begun. In 1821, the Greeks had no regular army. Most revolutionaries
Let's see.
No combat experience, as under Ottoman rule, Christians had been largely forbidden to bear arms.
And for good reason.
Battle-hardened, namely the Maniots, Klefts, and Amatolis, were mostly accustomed to irregular warfare. Moreover, the rebels had little internal cohesion, with different cells of insurrectionists each doing their own thing, without any real central authority to guide them. Nevertheless, a cabal of charismatic commanders ensured that good leadership carried the Greek cause. Be they Maniot sea lords like Petros Mavromichalis, cleft bandit chiefs like Theodoros Kolokotronis, or Phanariot aristocrats like Demetrios Ypsilantis, the younger brother of Alexander, who was in an Austrian prison. These men of drastically different social class and background led an unlikely band of insurrectionists in the name of a common cause. With that said, revolutionary leaders still clashed with one another as much as they did with the Ottomans over issues of ideology, influence, or shared plunder. Nevertheless, within just a week, virtually the entire Morea fell into Greek hands, save for the cities of Patras and Tripolitsa and some walled fortresses. Control over the Peloponnesian countryside was further secured when a 3,000-strong revolutionary force under former cleft bandit lord Theodoros Kolokotronis defeated an Ottoman force nearly twice its size at the Battle of Veltetsi.
Whoa! Oh! Whoa, okay. The Greeks still got it in them. They still got that Spartan spirit in them. No, but seriously though, that's actually impressive.
Were going comparatively worse in central Greece, where the capable Ottoman Albanian general Omavrioni won a victory against a promising young revolutionary commander, Athanasios Diakos, who he had executed by impalement.
Oh, it's not. Oh wait, I just see this. I was born a Greek and I would die a Greek. Oh, but impalement. Oh.
Brioni's army was contained by the heroics of one Odysseus Androutsos, who, while outnumbered 120 to 8,000, defeated the Ottomans at the Battle of Gravia Inn while losing only 6 of his own men. Ultimately, this allowed the revolutionaries to secure a tenuous hold on central Greece. In 1821, the Ottoman state was ill-prepared to deal with the Greek revolt. For one thing, the imperial army was in the midst of an identity crisis. Former Sultan Selim III had attempted to modernize his forces on a Western European model, but this had gotten him deposed by the Janissaries in 1806, who in the century since their formation had mutated from their original role as an elite corps of loyal slave soldiers into an armed special interests group, scheming against any sultan who threatened their position of privilege.
The irony. 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 Bro. Oh my goodness, dude. Britain also, a lot of people don't really talk about this, but Britain also, I'm not sure if any other European power did this, but Britain also bought slaves as well, and like slave soldiers from Africa as well, in the Caribbean. I talked a little bit about this in like my really older videos, but yeah, that they were privileged. They were privileged. They were a lot more privileged, obviously, than the ones that were working on the fields. But I'm not sure my camera turned off there. But that, you see, the thing with that is slavery was kind of close to ending. Not like it was. This is when more and more people started to see the horrors of slavery, and it was like starting to get limited. So it's like it didn't really have much of an impact, and this is why most people don't even know about Britain's slave soldiers. And by the way, these soldiers actually would be used to colonize, ironically enough, other parts of Africa. Right? So it's like they bought slave soldiers from Africa, and then they would eventually use these slave soldiers to colonize parts of Africa. And I think that they were also used in some parts of India as well, if I'm not mistaken. But they didn't have like influence like the freaking Janissaries, because slavery would the Janissaries were around for like so long, that it just mutated. But I'm just saying this because I'm just thinking to myself, I wonder if that would have happened. Like if that kind of like if that would have if a mutation would have happened to Britain's slave soldiers that she had bought from Africa, like some type of weird class system would take fold, right? You know, it's like, and believe me, like the privileges that they got were way better. Like they preferred to be slave soldiers, obviously, than a regular slave. They actually did help put down the only slave rebellion that happened on Barbados. There was only one slave rebellion, and those regiments, they obviously did not defect when the slaves rebelled. They immediately went and toppled the rebellion. So yeah, it's like, it's very similar to the Janissaries and their whole privilege thing, and how, you know, they don't want to like lose their privileges and whatnot. I'm just drawing an interesting parallel here, and just asking myself an interesting question, quite frankly speaking.
In addition to this, the empire had become increasingly decentralized. Since the 17th century, vast swaths of land had fallen under the control of the Ayans, provincial notables, most of whom acted as de facto autonomous overlords of quasi-independent fiefs. Indeed, when the Greeks raised the banner of revolt, the majority of Ottoman troops had been tied up, putting down the apostasy of Ali Pasha, the 80-year-old Albanian Ayan, to the immediate north. The declining effectiveness of the Ottoman army and the inability of the Sultan to rally his most powerful vassals were both general factors that led to their inability to quell the Greek revolt. While most of the Peloponnese and central Greece was secured, a caste of hardy islanders fought a fierce naval war upon the shimmering seas of the Aegean. In 1821, the Ottoman navy was a juggernaut of modern warships under the centralized leadership of Kapitan Pasha, Grand Admiral of the Empire.
Really? The Ottoman Navy is a juggernaut of modern warships. I've never heard anyone say that up until now. Especially because this is 1825. Oh wait, no, this is not the Crimean War yet.
The Greeks had only an improvised fleet of lightly armed merchant ships. Nevertheless, they knew the capricious currents of the Aegean better than anyone, so home field advantage was on their side. At the onset of the war, the Greek revolutionary fleet was outfitted principally by merchant shipowners from the islands of Hydra, Spetses and Sara. Despite lacking in heavy weaponry or centralized leadership, the makeshift Greek flotilla was able to find quick success against the Ottomans. More often than not, the gulf in firepower was overcome through the use of fire ships. On the 27th of May, the Sarriot corsair Dimitrios Papanikolaou incinerated an Ottoman two-decker frigate off the coast of Eresos, the first of many infernos that would define the Revolutionary War at sea. Greek maritime success was crucial, as it prevented the Ottomans from landing reinforcements in mainland Greece, isolating the remaining imperial garrisons there and contributing to the fall of Ottoman-controlled cities.
Bro, no way this actually worked. Oh my goodness. How do you let this work? Oh, that's so embarrassing for the Ottomans, bro. Honestly.
Quickly. Throughout the empire, Greek civilians were indiscriminately slaughtered, particularly in the capital, where armed janissaries roamed the streets, killing Christians in cold blood.
Whoa! Whoa! Oh my gosh! Oh, that's actually disgusting.
Ecumenical Patriarch Gregory V, the temporal leader of Orthodox Christianity, was suddenly arrested, sentenced to death by the Sultan, and hanged. Ironically, prior to his execution, Gregory had condemned the revolution, and his unceremonious death shocked the Christian world.
Oh my dude, that I can't even. I can't. I. I'm not gonna lie. I'm speechless, bro. That took words from my mouth there. I can't really. Usually I like to play devil's advocate in my videos and see things from the other perspective, but that's that's just that's just mindless barbarism. That that that's just mindless barbarism right there. And the thing is, it's like, dude, a lot of these people don't even support the rebellion. Like, a lot of these people do not support the rebellion. Like, no, that's just mindless retaliation right there. Like, bro. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's actually. Oh, that's so disgusting, dude. That's so disgusting. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm ignorant, but I've never heard any like Christian majority country doing this to, like, I don't know, like an Islamic minority or some type of like, I don't know, like some type of religious minority that's rebelling. Have you heard of any Christian country doing this? I don't even think the Crusades did this to the civilians. But aside from pillaging is different. I'm talking about going around just mindlessly unaliving people. Just, I don't even think that, bro. No. I cannot wait to see what my Muslim viewers have to say about this.
In Russia, Capodistrias wrote passionate letters condemning the Sultan. But despite this, no aid from Russia or the West came. Meanwhile, revolutionary hands were hardly clean either, and Greek rebels committed numerous exterminations against Muslim civilians. On September 23rd, the city of Tripoli.
Well, touche. Touche.
Fell to the forces of Kolokotronis, and 8,000 Muslim and Jewish civilians within its walls were butchered.
Oh wow. And they were targeting unarmed Muslim pilgrims en route to Mecca and killing. Wow. Wow.
And Ottoman forces.
But like, it's like, would the Greeks do that if the Ottomans hadn't freaking done what they did to the Christians? Would, like, I don't know, maybe. Dude, this is just. Dude, this is just sad, dude. I don't know. This is just disgusting, man. Honestly, like, I don't know.
The war went on.
Oh my gosh, dude, this video is gonna get demonetized. Demonetized.
No central authority.
Demonetized.
As different regions operated under their own independent military leaders and regional governing councils. However, as the permanence of independence set in, it became necessary to establish the proper pillars of government that would define the new Greek nation. In December of 1821, revolutionary leaders of every region of Greece, be they landowners, merchants, intellectuals, warlords, or archpriests, gathered at the town of Piada. The architect of this grand conclave was one Alexandros Mavrokordatos, a young intellectual of aristocratic Phanariot stock. Educated in Switzerland and Italy, and reputedly able to speak 10 languages, Mavrokordatos was a...
Bro, how the heck do you speak 10 languages? I swear. Bro, I feel like these people who are like, oh, I can speak like freaking 10 languages, 15 languages. Bro, I feel like they're capping, bro. It's like, I feel like they can speak it, yeah, but they're not like, fluent in it. Like they would butcher a lot of things in the other languages. Like, because, dude, anybody who's learning at least a second language can say, bro, you need to practice drill yourself, keep yourself exposed to that second language, or your brain is immediately going to start forgetting. Now, you can help yourself by going to that country, that which language you're studying, and it'll help a lot. Because, it's all around you, and, like, that's how you could actually technically learn a language in like 6 months, really and truly, if you just go to that country and, you kind of really drill yourself and whatnot. But 10 languages, how do you keep all of that in your head? How do you keep all that info in your head? Absolutely not. Honestly, it's like when I hear people say, I know 5 languages, that's already like, bro, just a second language in general is like hard enough as is. A third language is like, okay, yeah. Because I was reading up on this and seeing like how polyglots like do this, bro. And they always say how like they have to drill themselves in like all the other languages that they know, because if they don't, they're gonna start forgetting stuff. So it's like, whenever I hear these people are like, oh, I know like several languages, bro, or this person knew like this many languages, that's like over four over. It's like, absolutely not. Like, there's absolutely not. Like, you probably are at least fluent in maybe 2 of the languages, maybe 3, but absolutely not, man. You are not fluent in 10 languages. Hell no.
A purebred product of the European Enlightenment. As a result, rugged warlords like Kolokotronis hated his guts. To them, Mavrocordatos was little more than a milksop pen pusher, and due to his preference towards Western European clothing, a borderline foreigner. Nevertheless, even the most rough-hewn of clefts saw the necessity.
That's kind of ironic, because Greece would influence Western Europe a lot. So that's kind of an oxymoron. Like, oh, you're wearing Western European clothing, but yet Greek has had so much influence on Western Europe and the West in general. What?
Necessity of Greek unity, and so gathered at Pieda under Mavrocordatos' auspices. For the next month, various chieftains and regional strongmen quarreled incessantly, but in the end, the contours of nationhood began to form. A national constitution was written, and a provisional government was established, divided into a legislative and executive branch, presiding over 8 federal ministries. Mavrocordatos would, of course, serve as...
Wait. This note said that the first Greek constitution was modeled after the America and French?
Presiding over 8 federal ministries.
Hold on a second. Yeah, French. Stay with me here. Isn't that funny? Because in American schools, they always teach that the American Constitution was heavily influenced by ancient Greek fundamentals, and like the way how like they teach us like Enlightenment, but they always like emphasize like Hammurabi's code. That's a big thing that they always like to teach us. Okay, America's Constitution was basically influenced from ancient Greece, and the way how ancient Greece did its system, and now the modern Greeks are basing their constitution off the Americans, which is basically like, dude, just think about it. That's so, oh my gosh, dude. America used Greece and other Greeks are using America's constitution. So it's like they're using something that's basically like, they're like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so bad at explaining things. Please tell me you're understanding me right now, right? Does that make sense? It's just funny. It's just funny to me how oh my gosh, dude, my brain is so horrible at processing information. But like, just think about it. Like, damn, that's how you know the Greeks really did lost, like, forgot a lot about their Hellenistic past. It's like, how are you using a constitution? How are you modeling your constitution off a country that used your ancient country to model its legal system and laws and code? Right? That sounds better.
Provisional government was established, divided into a legislative and executive branch, presiding over 8 federal ministries. Mavrocordatos would, of course, serve as the president of the executive, making him the de facto leader of this new administration. On the 15th of January 1822, the National Assembly of the natal Greek nation collectively signed an official declaration of independence from the Ottoman Empire. The war we are waging against the Turks, far from being founded in demagoguery, seditiousness, or the selfish interest of any one part of the Greek nation, is a national and holy war, the object of which is to reconquer our rights to individual liberty, property, and honor. The dawn of the new year had heralded the dawn of a new nation. The first Hellenic Republic had been born. Despite a new constitution binding them, the rivalries between the Greek revolutionaries would soon stretch to their breaking point, resulting in a series of civil wars at the worst possible time. For, on the other end of the Mediterranean, an invading armada of the invincible governor of Egypt threatened to smother the idea of free Greece in its crib. Our series on the Greek War of Independence will continue, so make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button to see it.
This series, I'm pretty sure this series is gonna be one of my favorites. I'm actually really looking forward to this series. This actually has me heavily invested in it. Like I said at the start of the video, I'm pretty sure I had a lot to say, and I did. Look, man, you made it all the way here. If you have any suggestions for me, make sure you go comment. If you like my reactions at what I say, go like and subscribe. It helps my channel a lot. All right?
Please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. It helps immensely.
Exactly. And, thank you for watching, and goodbye.